AI and Media Summit. We're moving on straight to the first panel session for today. And it is on AI in industry and society, exploring opportunities, ethics, and safety for Africa's future. Those two keywords, ethics and safety. Now, this is one panel session that I am particularly looking forward to because we know that with AI comes a tendency for abuse. Let's introduce to you the moderator of this panel this beautiful morning. He's a researcher at the University of Oxford, researcher, Global Center for the Governance of AI, Mr. Ayantola Alayande. A round of applause as he comes up on stage. Also on the panel with Ayantola, we'll be having Nelson Olanipekun, Director, Citizens Gavel. A round of applause as Nelson makes his way up on stage. And we'll be having a Data and Solutions Lead at Unilever, Feranmi Muraina. A round of applause, please. And the third person on the stage this morning for the panel is the head of Data Lab, King's College London, Dr. Damilola Adegoke. A round of applause, please. I've been informed that Dr. Ololade Shyllon, head of Privacy Policy Africa, Middle East, and Turkey for Meta, will be joining us online. Would like to confirm if they're online now. I'm sure that as the panel progresses, would get to know whether or when Dr. Ololade joins in. Over to you, Ayantola.
Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to this panel. My name is Ayantola, and I will be moderating it. Just kind of caveat, I'm a placeholder for now, right? I wasn't supposed to moderate this panel, but so I'll try my best. Please indulge me. So welcome to this very exciting panel on AI, ethics, adoption. AI is the thing now. I would say AI is sort of like I'm trying to use the word she. Everyone's bride, everyone is the kind of bride everyone wants. So I'll start in an unconventional way with you, Nelson. What's your biggest excitement about AI? It's just the spirit of being unconventional. I know you work on tech AI, legal AI, but so what's your biggest excitement about that?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think biggest excitement is the potential. This decade we are in has a very big potential for things that we thought were not possible, the possibility. So before generative AI became mainstream and all that, AI had been, but generative AI had kind of amplified the potentials, the possibilities that we've explored. Take, for example, what we do with AI at Citizen Gavel, Produce AI. Having trained the AI with laws and judicial precedents, it can now provide instant legal support, legal insight for people. So those are some of the potentials. I also know of a friend, I think he's somewhere in the room, Help Mom, how AI is helping maternal health care, helping people to be signposted to where they could get vaccination for their kids. Those are potentials that we see with the mainstreaming of AI into tools that otherwise we haven't seen. And also, embracing AI this decade kind of puts you on a different platform in terms of use case, in terms of impact level in terms of scalability of your work, and very wide range of potentials and impacts that you could leverage on using it. So for example, AI integration to WhatsApp and also other tools has also helped people to see other, ways that they could even curb disinformation. I can see CGID's tool helping to curb disinformation. Data fight to AI, Nubia AI, helping Newsroom. These are things that before now were not that possible. But with all these tools put in place now, I think we are accelerating digital transformation at a Formula One level.
Excellent. Just before I go to Feranmi, can we try to minimize the noise coming from the back, please? Yeah, thank you. Feranmi, over to you. What's your biggest excitement about AI?
I think my biggest excitement is the ability of AI to kind of democratize resources. Right. So previously in the past, you'd see majority of quality resources, you know, access to information, access to data only for specific groups of people. You know, I can talk from a business point of view to say that in the past, you know, if you wanted to do significant market research, you had to work with like an agency, you had to have the money to pay an agency to carry out that work on a large scale. But right now, you could be literally in your bedroom, you could set up your survey, you could deploy it, get your insights from your bedroom, right? That has totally changed the marketplace. And I think the empowerment of everyone, not just corporations, but the empowerment of everyone is one of the major advantages that AI has brought into the game.
Right. I mean, the ethics and governance part of me is getting something different. I feel like it's sort of empowering the rich people to become richer, right? So I used to work in market research. So I mean, democratization is a big deal.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily the ordinary person who doesn't have access to the internet. But I'll come to that.
Okay, sure.
But what's your biggest excitement about it?
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to say that I don't use the word excitement really, because AI is just like electricity. I mean, it's very uses, so we've seen a lot of benefits, some of which I find here. So, but I don't want to start speaking about fear. I don't want to anticipate that aspect.
Let's start with the good ones first.
The good ones,
yeah.
Because I'm not concerned about the negative aspect of it. But in terms of my excitement, the ability to not only democratize knowledge, it's also a way to deconstruct what we used to do about hierarchies, when hierarchies, in terms of production. I don't want to say knowledge now, but we see a situation where we're generating AI, people could actually access billions of data sources to create new ideas. Yeah. And also in terms of for health, with predictive analytics, you could customize treatments to particular patients without necessarily having to like what we used to do in past time. Right. For research, it increases the kind of the rate at which experimentation is done. Yeah. Because you look at those who work with agentic AI to train a particular model, a particular large language model, sometimes takes like 6 months to 1 year before. Right. But with AI now, that experimental testing process can be expedited. Yeah. And I would also want to say that in Nigeria, without sounding patronizing, we see what CGID is doing, especially with that fact checking. And I was looking at the audio transcription stuff. That's beautiful AI. That once in the past it would have been very difficult to do this, but now we have that opportunity to be able to, for people to edit, to upload content and fact check audio, text, and also to confirm information as well. So these are wonderful opportunities depending on the various fields in which you are. On the field of agriculture, for instance, with crop management, you see, I've worked with some organizations with, I fly drone, I'm a drone pilot, and I'm also into spatial analysis. So what you can see with drone, you could actually map a specific area and do a kind of geo-mapping to determine the crop health, to manage health and also the distribution of fertilizer to specific area rather than just spreading them all the way. So I will stop here, but there are very many opportunities that AI has been able to offer so far. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So let's now get into the questions. I'll start with you, Nelson. You do a lot of work on, I mean, should I call it legal LLMs, right? And in my head, I'm thinking, and I'm very particular about the African context now. So do you think there's a lot of hope? Can AI deliver justice, social justice? I'm trying to frame it differently. And
I believe AI, and with our work with Produce AI, we've seen AI aiding the justice delivery process. Essentially, having trained the AI with laws in Nigeria, many people, organizations use our AI, for example, to draft freedom of information requests, to analyze documents, to draft petitions. I've seen one of the feedback we got from people we've been supporting, because we try to talk to our users as well to get, okay, how exciting has it been and what are the challenges they've been facing. One particular user said he used it to draft a petition against his landlord who was trying to eject. So there are different use cases. And the beautiful thing about how our AI works is it's been trained with local laws. So it's not like what you get from the ChatGPT. Yeah. It would cite local laws that's deep and applicable to your situation. Right. And all this potential helps to, before AI, Gavel has been running Produce. Right. And the way Produce work is that the way Uber connects riders with drivers, we connect lawyers with victims of injustice. So let's say in Calabar you need a lawyer. We get you a lawyer that can support you. But that would probably take 6 hours or 7 hours because you need to check the availability of that lawyer. You would probably be constrained by brick and mortar challenges as well and all that. But with the AI now, instantly, you can get legal insights based on your situation. Right. And you could also draft documents. And the beautiful thing is that you can get all this done via WhatsApp. So you don't really need to download a separate app or a platform. All the things can be done. And with Nigerian context in place, you could engage it with Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo. Nice. And it will provide you support. So people that don't understand the conventional languages, like the English language, but maybe the elderly people can still get a bit of that system. Yeah. That is also very user-friendly with people that have disability because it gives you audio output as well. Right. So it's not just giving you the text component, it's giving you the audio output. And this is specifically tailored to Nigerians and different injustices that we are facing in Nigeria. Then the beautiful thing also, I think I've used beautiful many times, but the additional beautiful thing is that, you can, beyond that, if the AI cannot support, if it cannot address your challenge, you can get connected to lawyers behind the scenes. So it's like the first layer is the AI, the second layer is the human intervention support. Right. And I've also, beyond what we do, I've also seen the other organizations that are also using AI to aid legal drafts for judgments and all that. Right. And pardon my guess, the time is up.
No, that's excellent. I think you have a lot of customers in the room. I'm not sure how many lawyers are in the room, but I'm sure people will be very interested in that. I have some questions around data protection, but I'll come back to you. Let's come to Feranmi. You made mention of doing market research and how AI sort of enhanced that and made that more efficient. Can we switch to the operations side now? Like, how exactly is AI helping businesses, right? People want to get a sense of what you're doing at Unilever. How is AI enhancing that?
So I think not just for Unilever, but for any business, it's going to come down to two things, right? The cost and the revenue. How can I produce my products or my services? How can I produce them cheaper? And then how can I sell it to more people or sell it better, right? And that's how AI will always come in, right? So at Unilever, on the cost side of things, one of the ways we apply AI is to help us to produce our products at a cheaper rate, right? For example, we feed in information like what resources we have, what the expected output we want is, what the available resources are, and then the AI runs simulations to recommend the best approach to production, like scheduling, how to ensure that we use less energy, we spend less in producing a certain outcome of products that can be sold, right? And then on the revenue side, we need to ensure that we do not lose opportunity for sales, right? For example, we sell ice creams, for example. If you go to an ice cream store, right, like there's heat, you want to buy ice cream, so you need to buy it in that moment. Once you leave, if the ice cream is not available, you look for something else.
Exactly.
That's lost opportunity. So one of the things we've done is we use these things called connected devices, where there are monitoring input devices in each of the stores to check what the stock level is. Then the AI combines that with information such as weather information, time of day, if there's a special event around the city. And then it simulates all of these to kind of predict what the demand is likely to be. And so by using that demand, we're able to ensure that every retailer has like the perfect stock levels so that we do not lose those sales opportunities.
Is that happening in Nigeria?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
Not yet.
Can you think of a Nigerian example? Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be business operations. It could be
yes, so Nigerian examples, one of the things we do is because in Nigeria we work with key distributors, right? They sell on behalf of Unilever. So one of the ways we do these is we take their own demand information, their sellout rates, and we run simulations based on that. So if, for example, it's Christmas time, we know that there's going to be a lot of cooking of jollof rice, right? So we know that, okay, our bouillon cubes, that's seasoning cubes, Knorr seasoning cubes, the demand is going to go through the roof. So we take information such as the time of the year, the special events, all of these things, and then we run simulations and we can determine how much more we are likely to sell, and we can produce those stock ahead of time so that they don't run out of stock.
Right. I feel like both of you are getting free marketing, except for Dr. Adegoke, who is a researcher. But it's good to hear how well AI is doing on that front. I'll come to you, Dr. Damilola. You sort of made mention of it already, but I want you to hone in on it, and especially the Nigerian example. How can AI be used to advance public health? You know, kind of solve public health challenges. You already touched on some of these issues. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much. My own use of AI is tilted towards the security aspect of human security aspect of application of AI, right? Which health is a very significant factor. We did something at the African Leadership Center Data Lab during COVID, when we had to mine perception of people towards public governance around the delivery of services around during that period of COVID. That is one example of how, though not really AI, well, let me say soft level of AI is being used to deliver services related to health. But there is one area that I believe Nigeria, but I think why I'm a little bit hesitant is that I don't want to overpromise because with the exception of, and I will say this specific organization like this particular organization, actively using AI, most pay lip services, I mean, they just mention AI. Some now, it's because it sounds sexy. Just say we are using AI. Then ask them, how are you using AI? Then there's nothing significant to talk about. What I can say is that the potential now of AI to public health delivery in Nigeria is that you can customize, like I mentioned earlier, treatments to like for instance, since we are all made up of different genetic makeup, so that way our administration of drug could be targeted in that sense. If we have database of maybe, let me use the word patients in Nigeria now, that way you can narrow down on that aspect. And also, it could also help, because, and this one will appear more sinister really. One of the power of AI is that apart from predicting it related to health, is that you can also use it for psychological evaluation, which is somehow health related. For instance, I was surprised. I actually used myself as an example. I submitted myself to something, to some test using the AI and some other things.
Yeah.
And, just my speed. Most people think that you can do DNA analysis sequencing with AI and they say, okay, where you are from. Just a drop of my speed. And when they came out with my psychological evaluation, that my personality,
Yeah.
to my surprise, the something predicted I'm not left-handed, the time of the day that I would likely sleep,
Yeah.
what agitates me, my attitude. So was so many things like that it was so personal. And for me, that could lead to the issue of privacy when we discuss ethics now. Because with that data telling me accurately about myself, including things that even I had to think very well, and I would say, yeah, sure. Yeah. Your memory ability, your ability to get angry, yeah? Your attitude
we need that in Nigeria. We need that kind of test.
No, I'm telling you. I can show you. It's on my phone.
Yeah.
More than 120 personality traits about one person, just with... Now I understood why some people say that some of this, whatever you can think of.
Yeah.
We are still like at the basic level of AI deployment. So apart from that, in terms of development of drugs as well, before it used to take longer period of time to do that, but now you can speed up the process as well in terms of also in terms of management of patients, maybe time of the day, when you should come for your drugs, and when you should see a doctor, what particular doctor you should see, the food that you eat in that sense. And tied to that is the fact that so many other things like supply chain as well. So it could help to undo all these areas. Let me not hug the mic too much.
That's a lot to take in. I particularly like the spit example. I think it's a test I would like to do myself. But let's come back to you, Nelson. You talked a lot about people having access to, legal advice, using WhatsApp, different things, right? But I'm trying to think of the average person who doesn't even have access to the internet, right? Do you think AI is widening the gap? Do you think AI is creating even more gaps? There's a lot of work going on trying to make AI to be SSD compliant, where you could just type a code the way you would do if you wanted to load credits on your MTN or Airtel or anything like that. But with AI, you need to get on the internet, right? And you need to be very digital. You need to be digitally literate at some levels. Do you think this is widening the gap and just empowering people who already have access?
Yeah, I think that will be, it's based on the circumstance of the use case of the AI and all that. And the reason why I say this is that while certain AI might not have taken, or is still at the early stage, probably they have not gotten to the stage of inclusion and taking all the context into cognizance. Because when you are developing AI, the first thing is let it first work safe. That's the first thing.
Can make it good later. Just let it exist first.
Let's get it to work.
Yeah.
Then after that, you start, okay, we need to improve this component. Because if you want to do everything at the first stage, you probably will not launch on time. Yeah. So, and if you are looking at it from that context, maybe there is that challenge of inclusion at the early stage of the AI, but as it grows. So the first version of our AI, we didn't put all the audio for people that have got disability. We didn't put all those contexts into play. Yeah. But it was based on user feedback. So we started introducing the audio component to help people that are visually impaired. We started introducing the internet and the language barrier component of the work. But also, we've not got, our AI does not work offline at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a challenge for people that are not online.
Yeah.
But from history, from the way we've done our work over time, Gavel has been around for close to 8 years. Yeah. We've noticed something. When people need something, they will probably go to their friend and tell them to grant them access. So, for example, we've seen scenarios where someone that haven't gotten maybe access to Twitter or our complaints channel or our produce would like maybe talk to a friend that is common in the country. You share your concerns with the friend, and the friend will now come online or come on your own platform to complain on behalf of that person. Using WhatsApp is a strategic play, because WhatsApp, a lot of people already use WhatsApp. So even in the most local community, you have one or two people that already use WhatsApp. So even if you don't have access to internet, you can get connected to that friend in your community that have got access to internet, to WhatsApp, and to use their device to get access to that. Because if you are trying to compensate or accommodate everything, it's kind of very difficult. Number one, in terms of human resources, in terms of even trying to accommodate everything, it's almost very, very impossible.
But you made an interesting point around visual and hearing disability.
Yes.
More of that, because there was an interesting question yesterday, and this wasn't about AI only, around technology not necessarily catering for this group of people. But it's very interesting to hear what you're doing with Podus. So can you hone in on that?
Yeah. So essentially, if you can't, if you've got visual impairment, you could go to AI and voice instead of typing.
Right.
So once you voice, it transcribes at the back end, and it gives you output. So the output also comes in form of a text output, so it gives you all those. Then it also comes in form of an audio output. So you could download and listen to it.
Right.
So instead of just the text alone based output.
How about visually impaired?
Yeah, for visually impaired. So and we've even done it also in such a way that the way you could just long press the button, speak to it, and it will respond to you. Long press and speak to it. That one is possible on our web platform, but on the WhatsApp, you probably have to speak to it, and it would send you the output as an audio file. So you download it more or less like the way you do voice notes to each other, to friends and family on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So it's also possible via our AI.
No, interesting. Let's come back to you, Feranmi. A lot of us in the room are civil society people, and can you give us a little insight, a broader insight into private sector adoption? So this is not just about Unilever, right? What can we do with AI, right? There are small and medium business owners here, right? What exactly can we do with AI outside of market research, of course?
Okay, outside of market research, if I think of like the funnel, for example, right? Of course, you're going to start with your market research, but you're not going to stop there. You're going to work, once you get the results of your market research, you have to devise your strategy. Like, where do I want to play? How am I going to win in the area I want to play in? AI can definitely help you here by tapping into the knowledge base of many strategic consulting firms, right? How they approach strategy development. So you actually do not need to go to business school to be able to get access to the information that comes from business school, right? AI already gives you that portal into all of that knowledge base, right? So you, without even going to business school, you can develop a business plan with the right strategy from wherever you are.
I don't know if you've seen this picture online of this guy graduating. Everyone's wearing their, what's it called?
And then ChatGPT, right?
ChatGPT.
Exactly.
Graduate of ChatGPT.
Exactly. And that is the reality. Like, the diffusion of AI has been unprecedented with whatever technology that has ever existed, even more than the internet. At some point, we had to go to cyber cafes to access the internet, right? But right now, every single person in the room can access their own version of AI on their own devices, and that's unprecedented, right? So getting the right strategy to win in whatever business you're operating in, you have that information. And it doesn't even stop there. Once you have your strategy set in place, getting the materials to execute that strategy. AI also helps with that. For example, if you say that you need an advertisement material, maybe a video or an image or whatever, there's AI available to help you develop these things. If you need maybe to, even if you are a journalist, for example, writing articles, there's AI that helps you to generate a foundation that you can edit on. There's AI that helps you to edit it. There's AI that helps you to deploy it. Like, the entire value chain has been, yeah, AI has infiltrated it. So there's really not, I think I can confidently say that there's almost nothing you want to do within the entire business value chain that you cannot find an AI assistant or an AI tool to help you with.
No, really great, really great. Thank you. I'll come to you, Dr. Adegoke. You started to already touch on some of this, right? In terms of building AI models. And I think it also sort of comes back to Nelson's point around, making these tools in local languages and things like that, right? But there's a big problem in terms of we don't build our own models, essentially, right? We sort of fine-tune what's going on, your ChatGPT or your whatever, Google's language model or Meta, Llama. How can we sort of adapt to this to make sure that they are culturally sensitive, right? That they understand the Nigerian context, right? For example, an average Nigerian would say some words that, if you hear, you think, this person is abusing me, but they're just playing, How do we ensure that AI understands the sort of socio-cultural differences? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Part of the work we do at the ASC Data Lab is something. Part of what we do at the ASC Data Lab King's College is related to that on the issue of firstly decolonizing AI. So, and that's part of it is to also contextualize it.
Can we walk through decolonizing AI?
Yeah. Okay. So the thing is that before we talk about first, most of the epistemic models that we have around is constructed not, without, like, let me say, most of the excluded cultures in mind. For instance, when you look at the way AI is structured, it's particularly built on, I want to use the word Western European knowledge representations. And some of these approaches are completely alien to us on the continent. That's why developing AI products, it's a little bit of a challenge for us. I think in a way, part of what we need to do as Africans is to begin to go straight into building our own models or adapting existing models to take into consideration some of these things. Take, for instance, you mentioned something earlier that there are things we see. For instance, if you, let's say you are arguing with somebody online and you say something like, I will kill you, or you say, if you say I will kill you, maybe God will punish you. Or God punish you. Yeah, or in Nigeria, it's like you are, maybe that's your friend, it's a friendly tone. But AI model will flag that as hate speech. So I was consulting for some people at some point, and they were trying to use existing model that they used to pinpoint anti-Semitic trolls online. So that model will simply like block you out or shadow ban specific content if they think you are, so a lot of content in Nigeria or in some African countries were actually banned as constituting hate speech. So I don't know how we're going to do it, but we need to locally generate corpus and train data that would put all these things into considerations. And also in terms of, when you talk about machine translations, part of what we use, like digital assistant, when you press something and then you try to speak, your accent, the way you pronounce words, like in Yoruba, for instance, we have a specific word with different, like for instance, if I say Igba. So to any language model, it will be confusing if you have labeled that data.
Yeah.
But with people, I don't know how we're going to navigate around that because you will need some accent mark or diacritics to be able to do all this. If you are typing, even when you are typing, you can't easily put diacritics. So that way, that would be a little bit, it will be problematic for any language model that we're going to design. Yeah. So lastly, what I can say is that we need to get all hands on deck because what we notice is that we have various people developing. We are not even like collecting data.
We are not building our models anyways. Yeah.
So we need to build large. We need to start building our own data set. And I'm glad that I think I don't know if it's Premium Times and some other publishing houses. They have like Hausa version of their content. And you see a lot of things happening with BBC, Yoruba, BBC. Yeah. These are deliberate attempts to collect data and then to build products. So we can do that and piggyback on that and create our own contextually relevant data set. Thank you.
I mean, there's a lot of hope in this, right? You mentioned, kind of annotating or labeling data with accents. I see job creation here, right? People would, especially Yoruba language speakers or some other language, Igbo as well, I'm not very familiar with it, be able to kind of label data, not just in terms of word translations, but putting accents on it. So there's hope, like, jobs coming. Feranmi, I have a different question for you, but I want you to kind of say a lot more around this, right? Because, I mean, you're doing some work with, Yoruba translations of your work or local language. How are you doing it? And what's your hope for the future in terms of this?
So we are using the existing translation services that we've got available. However, just to improve it as well, we have some of so the way because all this thing has to do with resources. It has resource implication. So some of our lawyers, well, we have lawyers, over 260 lawyers across different states in the country. Some of these lawyers have also got access to the Produce AI, and these are within our quality assurance process. These are things that can be flagged if there is inconsistency in terms of language. But primarily we use the existing translation service, and layered on it is the lawyers that already understand this to ensure quality assurance. And I think some of all this challenge is it has resource implications, and that is why there hasn't been a lot of work in that area. Because, say for example, you as a non-profit organization, you want to work in this space, and you're requesting for a $2 million, $3 million. That's not easily available in this space for you to do that work. So you need to at least prove that it can work. Then maybe start improving on that model with challenges that you see in the space and all that. And Yoruba, and because majority of the people that have been using the platform is either one way or the other, they have a way to circumvent that barrier.
Language barrier.
Language barrier. Yeah. So even if you cannot speak English, you probably have your son or your daughter that would tell, come and help me do this thing, and all that, and all that. So when you're looking at it in terms of what is even the impact, if you deploy this amount of money, what is the impact in terms of, does it worth it at the end? Because is it a sufficient pain point to that user for you to deploy this X amount of money? Or they've gotten a way around it already through the context, the local culture. For example, when phone initially came out, my dad would call me, come and help me draft this text. He can speak, but he does not want to take his time to start texting and drafting. So it took a time before he could get on board. So if you get access to all these things easily, and it's reasonably cost effective in that sense, why do you want to deploy a lot of money into that? But it does not mean that it's not justifiable, because in certain contexts that might not work. Maybe you're trying to commercialize, industrialize that process. It might not work. But in a small context that that I've painted, that have been some of the ways that people have found a way around that challenge.
Why do I feel like your product is a practical example of job displacement? This is just a different, I mean, you mentioned how people can, get legal advice easily on their own. Lawyers would not be happy with that, right? But you're also employing lawyers, right? Which is sort of a way net positive,
And I wouldn't say it's legal advice. We call it legal insight, because that is also, we are very careful with our choice of word. Reason being that we have regulatory component that we have to comply with. And the thing is that everything is still subject to human supervision. So even if it gives you an output, we still advise you to even further, because we cite the necessary section of the law and tell you to further check it out.
And you employ lawyers, right?
And we employ lawyers.
Yeah.
And also, the thing is that AI would not displace you as a lawyer. It will probably displace you if you are not using AI. So, for example, many lawyers use our AI to draft petitions. They will use it to draft contracts. They will use it to draft many things that ordinarily you need to have spent like 5-6 hours drafting. But you can draft that initial version for you within few seconds. And you can now take maybe another 30 minutes or 1 minute to put that human knowledge and like edit it and ensure that everything is fine. So it reduces your work time frame and improves your output. So you're able to get more done. So if ordinarily you need to get a legal document processed, it will probably take you a whole day. You can now get it done in 2 hours. That means you can get more clients. You know, their business is sorted. Within that same time frame that ordinarily will have used more. So it's a way to also generate more income for you. On our AI also, we are putting affidavits. So how can you generate affidavits on our AI, and we connect you with a notary public to sign it off? Those are things that are possible. That is another market frontier that we are opening up.
No, that's a lot of insight in terms of possibilities. I feel like right now the honeymoon is over, so let's get into some of the things people are interested in hearing in terms of the ethical challenges. And I will start with you, Feranmi. What are some of the biggest barriers or challenges you encounter in terms of deploying AI in the private sector? Could you share your
So I think let me start with the current one, which is job displacement. Right. I think the most impact is going to come from the private sector on job displacement, and it then goes back to what he's saying, to say that the what is not changing, it's the how that is changing, right? So the task that you still need to do, for example, in his own case, the lawyers, they still need the legal knowledge and the legal expertise, right? But drafting of the petitions, the manual tasks, they can reassign that to the AI, and then they act in an oversight capacity to ensure accuracy and compliance. That's the same with whatever field you're in, right? Human beings need to reskill themselves to have oversight capacity, right? To ensure compliance, to ensure accuracy. Because that will always come down to the human. Machines will always have errors, they will always make mistakes, they are human creations. So we need to be the one to tell them whether they're right or wrong so that they can learn and be better. I can use a very rudimentary example to say that in the olden days, we needed to communicate with each other, right? You needed to know how to communicate, whether it was through letter or through a town crier, right? The what is still the same, communication, but the how has changed. Now you can send email, but you still need to know how to write or communicate your thoughts through an email. You're still communicating, but it's just the how that is changing. And that's the approach we should have with whatever field we're in, more specifically the business field. You can be a business manager, you can be an executive or an individual contributor, but you need to know you need to still have the expertise knowledge within your field to be able to ensure that the AI doesn't replace you, because ultimately you're going to be in a position where you're ensuring compliance or ensuring accuracy for the AI. Another ethical issue I know is the data privacy issues, right? And I think this has caused a wide change within the business community. So more people are looking for first-party data as opposed to third-party data, because the issue with third-party data is you do not know, or you cannot be 100% sure of what agreements the agency made with the people they collected the data from. And so you cannot just take the data and just dump it and use it to train your model. So right now, a lot more companies are investing in first-party data. They're investing in running their own surveys and having those legal agreements with the respondents to say, this is exactly what we're using your data for. This is what you can expect from this data we're collecting. And it's even better now that collecting first-party data has become less expensive than before. So that's another advantage. So companies are able to run these surveys themselves, get the data they need, and on occasions where they cannot get the data they need from first-party data, they ensure that they have rigorous checks on the agreements through the third-party agency, and then use those that information. So that's an impact you can see.
I want you to talk a little bit more around data privacy, but just to say, I'll be taking questions in a moment. Please prepare your questions. We have about 15 minutes roughly for questions. So try to make it succinct. So I'm giving a kind of a heads up. Introduce yourself and your question in one sentence. But I'll come back to you. For me, it feels like when companies say, oh, we are using data responsibly and we're trying to balance data privacy with innovation, usually I just hear like a word salad. It really means nothing, because really your innovation is on the back of how much data you're actually able to exploit, right?
Course.
The more you exploit, the more you are able to, vertically integrate and create more products and use people's data more, and then, how exactly are you solving? This is supposed to be a question for Meta, by the way, Dr. Ololade Shyllon. But how exactly are you balancing the need for data privacy? AI itself relies on a large troves of data, right? How are you balancing that with innovation?
So I think this then goes back to your first point, where you say that you believe that AI is helping established businesses as opposed to the common man, and this is one gray area where that can come into play. The reality is that a company like Unilever, which has existed for lots of years, has lots of data troves. Like, we have a saying within the company: if only Unilever knows what Unilever knows. That means a lot of people have passed through the company, they've done projects, they have knowledge, and the report is probably sitting somewhere in the cloud.
You have everyone's data here. We'll probably use your toothpaste at some point.
I mean, I am 100% sure everyone in this room has a Unilever product in their house, 100% sure. And we have a lot of data from those interactions, right? So we are advantaged in the sense that we have data that we need. We have sufficient data to train our models, right? The disadvantage comes into a one-man business, for example, who doesn't have as much capacity as that. How then can he have access to the same opportunities and the same skill that the AI should provide? Which is where policy regulation and, of course, the conversation with Meta hopefully comes into place to say, how can we balance innovation and data privacy within a public access point of view, from a public access point of view, because from an enterprise point of view, they probably have more resources to get what they need. Right? They can invest to say, okay, this is important for us. We need to know what people are thinking, or what people are desiring, or what people want to buy. And so we're going to invest in getting this knowledge. And then you see them put money in first-party research. You can already see the trend. A lot more money is flowing from third-party agencies and then flowing into their own investment, because they understand that, for example, the EU AI Act came into force, I think, in August. So a lot of companies with global presence are trying to be compliant. And the safest way to be compliant is to get it yourself. Right. So now, how can we then balance innovation and accessibility? And, of course, ethical considerations regarding data privacy with, for the common man? I think that's a conversation for Meta and Google.
Well, anyways, I'll come to you, Dr. Adegoke. Let's get away from this ethics conversation a bit. What role do you think African policymakers can make? I mean, you mentioned the EU, AI Act and all of that. But what role do you think African policymakers can make in shaping global AI standards, right? Not just for Africa. I mean, the AU AI strategy is out, which, I was kind of fortunate to work on. From a global perspective, what can we do? Or do you think we are just unfortunate?
Yes, I think I agree with the last statement you just made. We are just... Hello? I think I agree with the last statement you've just made without sounding non-patriotic. I think we're unfortunate when it comes to the issue of AI. I don't know if you worked on that AU AI stuff. When I read that, I was trying to review some documents. I read the EU Act. When I read that of the AU, I was a little bit disappointed because, having discussed with you, I don't believe that you I mean, I won't blame you because I know your position on some issues that I agree with. Most of what I read there was about how it can. There was no place, or there is no place for Africa as a kind of a voice, with a voice in that statement. I'm coming. No, we're not arguing. We are not arguing, please.
To play the judge and the in my own case.
Yes.
Yeah, but
okay. So that's why I said I'm excluding you, because I know your position. So it's more about the usual thing that we usually what we do regularly in many situations. It's about how this thing can benefit us. It's more about what we can get from there. Yeah. So it's more about how it can benefit us. That was why when you mentioned opportunity, I said I'm not interested in most of the opportunity thing, because I know there are so many sinister things that we need to be aware of.
Being a classic academic.
Yeah. So without sounding too critical, I think in a way, first is the fact that I'm a little bit hesitant because I'm familiar with certain things, and I was hoping that the Meta person will be here. But unfortunately, the person
she's
is
lucky
not
she's not here.
Now, there is this story that I'd like to share. This, there was this Roman emperor, Tiberius.
Yeah.
So he had the commander of his Praetorian Guard was Serginius. Serginius, because of the fear of, every Roman emperor, they're always afraid of their security and safety, not to get killed. So Serginius now played on that fear or that opportunity. And what he did was that he advised the emperor to move to the island of Capri for his own safety. Very beautiful, well-protected island. But over a long period of time, Serginius became the emperor, all but in name, okay? Because he controls the flow of information from the people to the emperor.
Yeah.
He was the go-between. Whatever he asked you to, he would tell the people didn't see until a long time that arrangement was disrupted. Yeah. Now, why am I saying this? With AI as well, we've submitted our agency, we type, we keep things in the cloud, we don't care what is being done with that. And then you see situation whereby, so we are just middlemen. Whatever product we say we are producing with AI, we still piggyback on models. So like when you go to social media, for instance, many people may not be aware that there's what we call shadow banning and content filtering. Right. Where what gets popular, what gets to go viral is not determined by you. Yeah. What gets filtered, so in a way to disrupt an economy or to destroy the democracy, you just need to get some disgruntled element with iPhone or with phones, make their opinion more popular than the others, deepen any counter opinion.
See what Elon Musk is doing.
Elon Musk. Yeah. Cause massive disruption, and then you say people are committing, they are doing a revolution. Yeah. Because, I don't want to say this, but there was a CIA operation actually during the Libya. Most of those Arab Spring thing, there is no way you would trace them without finding some intelligence agency using that to manufacture dissent. Right. So the same way, whether we are conscious of it or not, so the power is what I'm concerned with. Right. We are handling power over to tools that we don't even understand how they operate, and we are not creating our own alternatives, and that's a very big problem for me. Lastly, what I think the African government, people that you advise should do is that they should get more people like you, partner with institutions like this, like CGID and other those who are familiar with how these things operate, rather than just getting the people who have no knowledge of this technology.
I'm sure there's a panel later on that
so
today.
That's that. I will pause here for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So let's get into questions. I'm very keen on making this very brief. So I'll take it in pairs, in groups of two. I'll start with you, Ma. Can you give her the mic? And then the young man on white. So take those two, come to it, and then I'll come back to the audience.
Okay, great conversation so far. Loved it. Yeah. The applications were practical. They were down to earth. They were very localized. Yeah. But here is my thing. My name is Ejiro Umokoro. Everyone calls me Lady E. We've talked about all the good things, the jolliness using AI. It's part to scale, amplify, make impact, and all of that. Brilliant. Yeah. But there's a sinister thing happening. Yeah. Can we please, for the sake of also protecting us, especially in Africa, where we don't have a very robust framework in terms of jurisdiction, in terms of privacy protection, in terms of also intellectual property and copyright issues that are not as robust as it should be. South Africa just did something remarkably with Meta in terms of jurisdiction, of how AI can be penetrative and every other forms of those kind of data protection. My question is, so that every one of us who goes away here today, may we know some of the critical, sinister threats that we must be aware. Please don't slide over this one.
I'm not.
Don't run behind it.
I'm just trying to say I got your question. So,
Fantastic.
what are the big risks?
The threats we need to be aware of, because the more we're feeding this beast, we're going to create a monster.
Got you. So, who's your question directed to? Just anyone? I'll take that for Dr. Adegoke. It seems to be. The man in white.
Okay. Thank you so much. Good morning. My name is Kabir Yusuf. I work with Premium Times. My question is, concerning ethics.
Can you speak louder?
Okay. Concerning ethics. Right now, the New York Times is engaged in an intense legal battle with OpenAI concerning unauthorized use of their published work to train artificial intelligence. And that's currently ongoing, and there's a negotiation between OpenAI and New York Times to settle out of court, and they are demanding, billions of dollars on whatever they are using. Now in Nigeria, I know we've not got into that, or whatever they're going to use with our published work, they are not going to give us even a credit or settle whatever. Now, as I'm sitting down here, I just run a check on Meta AI on Pandora Papers in Nigeria, and I got findings that Premium Times published on people who are indicted in Pandora Papers, and there was no mention of Premium Times.
So your question is about intellectual property.
Intellectual property, and also our colleagues here who are also, developing AI. What are they doing, to make sure that they comply with some of these?
Got you. Yeah. So the question on risks and harms for Dr. Adegoke, intellectual property for you. You work with lawyers. I'll take one more. I'll come to this side. The man on the cap. Oh, it's been a man's word. I'll skip you. Yuma. I'll come back to you.
Thank you. So just to piggyback a little bit on what Kabir just mentioned, I think it's beyond intellectual property. We're also dealing with antitrust issues here. Tech giants, AI platforms, acquiring so much powers, gathering all the data, and refusing access, to other people that should ordinarily have access to those kind of data, and then making money. Exploiting it and making money from it. I know we're going to have a panel on how all of this interface with the media, but if that's something you would like to touch on a little bit, and what, for example, our own consumer protection agency can do on that. And just perhaps one more thing. You're hearing how artificial intelligence platform and tools are endangering the lives of children and young people, driving them into depression and all of that. And so beyond us just talking about, the ethical adoption of all these things, can we also speak about how to really drive the humanization of adoption of artificial intelligence?
Thank you very much, ma'am. So in the interest of time, I'll try to so Dr. Adegoke, you start with the risks and harms. I'll come back to you, Nelson, on intellectual property and antitrust. I'll come back to you on consumer protection and humanization of AI. Can we take it like that? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Hello? So I'm glad that somebody is on my side on this issue. Yeah, so on the sinister use of AI, I mentioned that earlier. I teach digital sovereignty to some students at the IDS in University of Nairobi. And part of what I used to say, that area is one area that I'm very, very concerned about, really. You see, we are not, I don't want to use the word, we are not serious as a people. Because we are not serious, let me just say it. So Now, on the issue of AI, because, for instance, when, we've been talking about manipulation of data, harvesting of data for a long time, and we've been made to know that, no, it's not really a problem. Most of the time, when new technologies like this come up, people play up sentiment of the possibilities and blindside people to some of the disadvantages.
Right.
And why some of us are here is to highlight that risk as well. Now, what I can say is that, for instance, in South Africa, that you mentioned earlier, they come up with a particular, before this Facebook thing, beta thing, they come up with a particular thing. Microsoft approached them and said, okay, we're going to give you free Microsoft Office, a suite, 365, for your children, all the students in South Africa. They were happy until some of us, like myself, raised an issue about, okay, have you asked the question, it's in the cloud, where is the cloud? So for 18 years of children, like hundreds of millions of people, you map all their engagement, what they like, their psychosocial functions and what have you, and then you use it to build products, tailor for them, and you sell to them. Targeted marketing and what have you. So what I think, because I have only 1 minute, I don't want to say what you can.
You have less than 20 seconds.
Yeah, so what I advise is that our our regulatory bodies need to bring in more people who will understand how these things work and try to find a way to, like what France did, Finland. Finland, when they brought in Microsoft Word, what they did was that they told them that they refused to adopt. They said you must make sure that language must not be in English, but in Finland, in Finnish. We need to start exercising that agency and say some of these products we have to understand. Explanatory AI must be included, and we have to understand how it's being operated, and if possible, have some of our people therein. Thank you very much.
It's a pity I'm not on the panel today, so I can't be a lawyer and a judge in my own case, but I have a different opinion. Nelson, let me come to you on antitrust and intellectual property.
Yeah, regarding intellectual property concerns, I think, so let me come from the angle I work from, the legal space. The beautiful thing is that laws and judicial precedents are public documents. So when you use laws to train your AI, when you use all these public documents to train your AI, those concerns are not really there. It's only when someone else has further worked on it that you can now say, okay, that other person has like an intellectual property concern. And because we are a legal organization, we've got that like in the backdrop. So for example, in Nigeria, for example, our AI, you seldomly file citation to court cases. It's because in Nigeria, we've not got access to public documents that are court cases. But for example, in the UK, our AI can cite court cases because there are public documents in the UK in that sense. So I think the first thing is to understand the level of data that you are putting into the AI, check if they are public documents or not. But for things that are private documents, in terms of intellectual property, you've got rights if your intellectual property is infringed on. The NDPC is a regulatory body in that space. And I also know that there is also another bill in front of the House of Rep that is to regulate, further provide regulatory support for AI. But I think the major thing comes to systemic and institutional issues. Even if, let's say, you bring your suit before Nigerian courts, do they have the necessary agency skill set to even entertain such complexity in that context? So you probably, the best bet is even at the point of using international treaties and bodies of laws to protect your interests so that your rights are not violated. So because if you come to the local context, the regulatory space in Nigeria, it's a bit of challenge.
So international laws, we can take on big techs with international laws. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yes, you could find a way to connect that within the available international frameworks, the legal frameworks that you could leverage. For example, the EU Act, just recently came out.
Yeah.
There is no sufficient judicial jurisprudence on that already, but you can start testing the waters in that context. And majority of the big tech are global organizations, so you could look at that.
We have the whole day to talk around this, so I'm sure the other panels would address this. I'll take one question from the back. The young man on short sleeve. Yeah. I'll come back to you, Feranmi. One more question and then we'll wrap up. Can you get him the mic, please?
Sorry, thank you very much. My name is Yami Sadiq. I report for the Informer 247. My question goes to Doctor. I got it right? When you made reference to the fact that the pathological test using an AI product gave you some kind of a result about your personality, what was in your mind? What came to your mind to somehow, kind of demystify a back-end arrangement? What did you think? That's my question. Did you think somebody somehow, having provided your information in the past, must have given it out to the people that actually made it? Or somehow? Number two, my question, I don't know, maybe anybody will answer.
Yeah, very quick. Yeah.
How can we actually, flag off some sort of infringement anytime we notice it using any AI stuff, and maybe which organization or agency do we do that?
I'm not sure I heard that well. How can we flag what?
How can we really red flag?
Flag infringement, yeah.
Yes, any kind of infringement, anytime we use...
okay, I'm sure the panelists understand, yeah. But Feranmi, I will come to you. And then who is that question for? The one on infringement? Anyone? Anyone. The first one's for Dr. Adegoke. Second one on infringement, anyone. But let's come to consumer protection and humanization, yeah.
Yeah, so the data that these models have been trained on may not totally reflect the accurate picture of the financial situation of the person applying for the loan. And so because of that, someone who should get a loan, who is in a right standing to get a loan, gets rejected because of biased data, right? That's one approach to, that's one impact of non-humanization of AI, for example. And so in my opinion, the best way to fix that particular problem is to, back to what he's saying, work on our own data sets, because these AI models are trained on Western data sets, and they don't have the right local context that depicts the actual Nigerian situation.
Right.
So in that instance, we need to work on the data, training data for these models, and that fixes the problem. Then another one is, within a business context, advertisements and communications.
Yeah.
So whenever people use AI to produce assets or to produce communication materials that go on the internet, there needs to be a proper structure in terms of legislation. And I know that the APCON, the Advertisers Organization of Nigeria, they are already working on a guideline and structure for AI-created assets and communication assets to limit misinformation and to also protect intellectual property.
Right.
So based on those two things, I know that that is something that is currently a work in progress. And once that structure is in place, we can start to see a lot more regulation in terms of AI-based materials that's going out.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So we're wrapping up now. You'll end with the question. Nelson, what's your biggest fear about AI? Feranmi, what's your biggest fear about AI? Dr. Adegoke, you already have so many fears. So you wrap up with that question. And yeah, you have less than 1 minute.
That's a tough one, because I wanted to answer his question.
Oh yeah, please do, and then
infringement as well.
Very shortly. Yeah.
So infringement, I think whenever you see infringements, of course, all this can be. You could notice the harms that this AI are doing, maybe to you as a person or to an institution or a community. So the harms, then from that to trace it down to the infringement. And for example, in Nigeria, I know that the NDPC is working on a snag document that you could use to complain. We've gained access to that document, and we've been able to even train our AI with that document. So if in an event that you've got an infringement from maybe a tech-enabled platform or an AI platform or any algorithm, you could use that to generate a complaint based on the harm it has done to you and submit it to, let's say, NDPC, and you could, you've seen what they've done recently, issued fine to different people. But regarding fear, I think it's an emerging technology. There are a lot of threats that could emerge from that. I hope that we start thinking of the different standards. We've got ISO standards, 42001 and different 27001, different ISO standards, the NIST framework, and ensuring that how can we create like a form of checklist that all this AI can somewhat be compliant to, starting from Nigeria and Africa and globally.
I like the idea of a checklist, like some sort of global minimum standards. Let's come to you, Feranmi. Thank you so much.
What am I most afraid of? I think it's in terms of the reduced accuracy of fact-checking. Because right now, and I'll explain what I mean. Right now, you can ask AI to pretend to be me and write a speech about AI and media. Right? And AI will look at my previous speeches and create and draft an entire speech, right? If that gets into the internet, that goes into the research pool, right? That speech can be attributed to me. And it will reduce the accuracy of fact-checking. Especially for businesses, right? Research is how we understand our consumers. So if, for example, I ask AI to pretend to be a certain type of consumer and tell me what they do, and that gets into the research pool, how then do we know which information is from actual consumers or which information is from AI? So I think that's what worries me the most. And without a proper structure, I think that risk is very imminent.
I mean, there's just more work for CJID to do on fact-checking. Dr. Adegoke, let's answer the question on biometric health data and then close with your fears. I think the question on infringement has been answered. So,
Thank you very much. To the pressman, you asked a question about, so making the kind of suggestion that maybe perhaps they had some historical data about me before. That was how that was accurately done. But I want you to do something for me after this session. You can Google Putin's paranoia with poo is poo. Because there are news going on, even by some reputable media organization, that has published that many leaders, so-called dictatorial leaders, including Putin, anytime they travel outside of Russia, if he uses any toilet, he doesn't use the public toilet, he has his own toilet seat, and they make sure they take whatever he's passing out back to Russia. Now, for you to know how serious that is, it course, the West will call it paranoia, but these are people who are familiar with some of the power of what we are talking about. Now, with the issue that you mentioned earlier, this one is not about historical data. I'm talking about providing anonymized tissue sample of maybe when you spit or something, people who don't know you before, coming up with about 120 character traits. Of course, about your likelihood to have cataract, your likelihood for exercise, your various personality that you would not even know about yourself, your memory skill, your attitude towards money, your social life. Now imagine having that just from a little and to construct a profile about somebody that will enable them to have even edgeway over you because they already know one or two things about you. So that is a fear now.
I mean, that, from a big data point of view, that's just kind of feeding into people with
and I understand. I later understand. I mean, I was able to understand how that was done because what they did was that, when most scholars who are here, when you write article, your article get published, they will say they put it behind paid wall. You need to pay money. That is to create you are submitting results, your own result of research, but you don't have access because somebody else. So they use the data. From some of these various studies, and then use that, train it with machine, and say when you have this gene, when you have this one, what are likely to be, and then it predicts. Now, if they are going into a negotiation with somebody, maybe trade negotiation, all they need to do is to go to the toilet, take this thing beforehand, map your personality, know what can trigger you, that you get angry easily. They profile, you have already finished you.
Is that your
before you.
fear?
So that is my fear as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this panel. A big round of applause for the panelists, please.
Amazing.
So many more questions.